I mean, I do like what you're saying with the Tyrael pick because the Sanctification also allowed them to, with the movement speed, chase a little more. The fact that they have Smite just allows you to constantly get that movement speed, continue to chase. This game didn't really give me much confidence in Ballistix, if I'm honest, going forward. We are going to go to Sky Temple, which is one of their favorite maps to pick when they're ahead in a series to try to, when they have that momentum advantage, close things out. But I don't know. I feel like their picks here have been a little bit weak. They've been a little bit disjointed. I'm worried for my region here.
It is fair to say, though, and the commentators reminded that Ballistix picked a draft that could allow them to control the map, and they did control the map for a majority of the game. But TheOne basically tied up. They took a keep back, and had they not gone onto core and maybe like messed up the core call there, which was already a risky core call, but they did it because everything was against them. This could have been a game that turned around, and you would not have thought that. But TheOne, they're showing up.
Well, I've loved this segment, guys. I barely had to ask anything. It's brilliant. I love it. Game number 2, we are on the way. Ballistix currently leads 1-0. But as you said before, Wolf, a little bit of concern here. Ballistix would really like the 3 points fully.
They certainly would. And, you know, it's very common in Korea when you're ahead. Everyone knows this about Korea. It's no secret that the top 3 and now top 4 teams in Korea are significantly better than the bottom 4 in regular league play. Yeah. So we oftentimes see the upper echelon pick Sky Temple because it's a map that can really snowball in terms of macro super early. You can actually have that, you know, really go out of control. And Ballistix loves to pick this, you know, Gen G, formerly KSV, and MVP Black loves to pick this map. I think that's the reason why we see it here. It's not based on a macro preference, but they do know that TheOne's macro is a little bit shaky at times. We're going to see some standard bans coming here. The Tracer ban, again, one of those bans where you're looking for a priority pick.
So this is one of those moments where we talk about hero pools, right? We go back to Eastern Clash. SC is just like, look, I'm riding Hanzo until I die, right? And fortunately for them, SC's Hanzo is really good, and they ended up winning that. But we knew that there were some flaws in the rest of the hero pool. The same that we saw, you know, a lot. This is the time. Hanzo's not as strong on this battleground. Is it Hanzo? Is it Vala? Or do you have something else for me? So Malfurion seems like an obvious choice here for Ballistix in one of their first 2 picks. But I feel like they're going to focus on trying to figure out what their damage is going to be.
I think this is going to be another Hanzo game. He's just so powerful on this map for his scatter arrow build where you can control the boss, you can control camps very quickly. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the same type of draft with SD going back to the Tychus, but I think Ballistix will prioritize the Hanzo here again.
Also, keep in mind, it's Sky Temple, it's a bigger battleground, and Jungha's Dahaka is one of his best. I think that might be a pick right now. Nice. Dahaka and Malfurion.
I mean, that's not a surprise given the battleground that they would go for the Dahaka pick here, but it does kind of erase the storyline I was writing about trying to take the momentum-based lead, which is what Koreans are so known for this map pick. They're going to take the map pick, utilize it for its macro elements, try to use that against TheOne.
We do still have Maiev available. Maiev Genji doesn't necessarily scream to me as like, boy, this is really going to win this game. It's really strong in team fights. It can really set up team fights, but then you are lacking a significant amount of wave clear and map control. And if you don't get those early picks on a map like Sky Temple, a team like Ballistix will be like, well, have fun chasing us around the rest of the game because we're not going to give you the team fights that you want.
I think TheOne maybe considering their Tyrael again, given that they had so much success with it in the last game, has some boss control if they want to pick Holy Ground. I was going to say they play Sonya almost every single game throughout regional play, but they're going to pick Hugo's Malthael instead.
Remember last time the Malthael was banned and they went for a Sonya priority? I think that shows where they look at this hero right now. It's obviously a winning matchup against Dahaka in terms of, you know, just the straight 1v1 in most cases, as long as you play it well. You don't have the global aspect, but you have the Genji to back it up. Something Kalaris has brought up on the desk many times is when you have that, you know, that winning matchup, you can really do a lot with it. You can bait out some trades. Going to ban the Abathur. They don't want that Genji clone. Something that Ballistix actually ran a lot in part 1 of this first season of HGC.
I was just about to ask about that. Like,
pairing with everything.
If you're really committed to that team fight, then Abathur would be like, all right, we're one shot, right? And I think that right now is something that Ballistix doesn't want to deal with. They want to counter some of that aggression by taking away the potential all-in team fight. And if they can ignore those moments, I think that's definitely where they want to be.
I think the potential for a Tyrael pick is even stronger now that the Abathur is banned, though. You know, you get a lot of boss control with that. which is something that's really important against potentially the Hanzo pick that comes out. I would love to see a Hanzo ban here. I mean, it's not what most teams would run in this composition, but it's what SC wants to run, which is further a problem, by the way, which I'm worried about for future matches in this group. But if you know how this squad has been running this hero and how much he prioritizes it and how good it is on this map, I think you ban the Hanzo here.
I agree with you. And I think that taking away the Hanzo, now this is another thing. So how do you save a hero? Hanzo has mobility if he can find something to jump off of, right? The terrain. If it's Vala, right, and you're Genji, you're like, man, I have a much easier time getting on that. Now, then think about this. Boy, if that Hanzo gets away from me, I'm going to waste something, Dragon Blade or whatever. Uther is still available. And if I want Hanzo, or if I want Genji to go back there and just like rip people apart, then Vala is the one hero that I know that there's going to play that is not getting away from me. So Uther is still very much capable of being on the side of TheOne to fully commit to the dive here.
And if TheOne are all in on something like a Tormented Souls Dragon Blade, when we saw that combo so much before, Tormented Souls was nerfed, Tyrael was a great way to try to stop that.
Yes.
Yeah, Tyrael was, I think this Tyrael ban is just simply you're afraid of the counter of this combo you're setting up.
Yeah.
They could have run the Tyrael themselves, but you know it's not necessary. They've got the Malthael in, but I think they're gonna save the Hanzo pick for last now that we're seeing this Thrall here, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the Hanzo pick anymore. But what other carries are really left? You have Li Ming, but Genji can really shut down a lot of that damage just by using Deflect. So I don't think the Li Ming is a great choice in this case.
Think about this right now. Thrall just got picked up by Ballistix. This is triple melee. And this is something Gilly and I were talking about before the show started, is that this was something that we would see a lot of out of North America. And seeing some of the teams start to adapt to this throughout this. Yes. I mean, it's uncommon, but it's now starting. I'd like to say that North America meta seems to be rubbing off a little bit here on this.
No one would ever say that was the case, I think.
It is now.
But you and I believe it, and that's all that matters.
And Alex Strauss on Infernal Shrines. I know Wolf is a believer now.
I am not a believer. I'm not, no.
Okay, so this has to be an Uther, and I really feel like Uther is a very strong pick for what they're trying to run.
I'm wondering if they Li Ming. Just depends. No, I need Vala here.
Wow.
Oh.
Ariel with the Genji always scares me.
Yeah.
Always scared, because it's like, boy, we're going to need you to come back for heals, because I'm either prioritizing you or Vala, who's literally made of paper. Well, I can only save one of you. This is quite surprising to me.
If I have my stats correct, I just double checked. I think Ballistix has played Thrall twice, and they're 1-1 this entire year. And it's been a very good year for Thrall. This is not a common pick for Korea compared to the other regions. So I'm guessing it's going to be SDE flexes to it. We're going to learn the truth in just a moment as this final pick comes through. Running a mage here, very difficult unless it's full burst against the Vala Ariel. Hanzo is really rough to run against that sustained healing. Yeah. I like the Phoenix pick you're mentioning. Good for the Battleground as well. It's a tough call here. I think Ballistix is kind of drafted into the corner with these really smart last picks here because of the assassins that are left. They go with the Hanzo, they go with the comfort, but it's going to be very difficult to use this in team fights against the Vala Ariel. It's going to be strong for map control, for the scatter arrow build, but beyond that, I think this draft is going to struggle. As
critical as I was about the Ariel pick, I will say that there is some forgiveness there because on the other side of the Battleground is the Anub'arak. Anub'arak generally has been one of the better counters towards the Uther to burrow charge in, get the cocoon off onto that primary target. You lose your cleanse, you lose your heals, you lose your divine shield. Basically, all elements of a team fight fall right out of the window. So I will say that a little bit is forgiven. I'm just not as big a fan as the Vala Ariel.
All right, so with that, we'll move into our predictions segment. I gotta go with Ballistix. I think the minute that people group up for the heals from Ariel, we're gonna see Dragon's Arrow, there's gonna be Earthquake, there's a lot to do with that. I think I would have much rather seen something like an Uther Li Ming.
God, this is really...
The Ballistix.
This is really tough for me, actually. I look at this draft. I look at this draft, and I think TheOne has the better draft by far, but SC got his Hanzo, and it's a map that they've excelled on with the Hanzo in the past. It's a risky Thrall pick. I'm going to have to go with Ballistix just because I trust them here. I trust the Hanzo pick, but I'm really scared. I think it could still go either way. I'm going to put my prediction aside on Ballistix, though.
Yeah, I think I'm still with Ballistix, although I do think that TheOne is starting to find their rhythm. I just think they're going up against a much tougher opponent that's
And
just very, very skilled.
I'm paid by the word, so I was being easy on Blues with this section, so it's all right. Very important. All right, let's check in with Twitch chat. Yeah, that's okay. That's good. That's good. I don't mind that. 68% over towards Ballistix seems pretty fair, and we can check in with our commentary team, and I'll zip up for a moment as well, so Blizz doesn't have to pay as much. How you boys doing?
Pretty good. I'm excited for this match as well. Meng's back on Genji, and that's always an exciting moment for me.
I'm good. I'm just really upset that you're the only one paid by word. Like, how do I get that deal?
That's how you get the big bucks, my friend.
I'll become the rap god.
Oh, yeah, Keldo, you got to negotiate that. This be good. All right, well, take it away, boys.
Thank you very much, Kalaris, and it is time for game number 2. But like I said, Meng on Genji, but the potential for just picking people off from Ballistix has got me so scared when you're against an Ariel.
And as you know, it's been said time and time again, Korean teams on Sky Temple is usually a very intimidating factor, something that Ballistix here in the blue is going to be looking to unleash. It was Young Ha on that Dahaka. We got Magi on Malfurion, a new Barak played by Hooligan, SDE on Thrall, and SE again on Hanzo.
And looking to try and recover themselves a point and move themselves closer, perhaps moving into that top 4. It is TheOne. Meng, he's on his Genji. Hehe on Muradin. Hugo on Malthael. Andre is back on Valor. And ZJZ is bringing out the Ariel.
See if we see the traditional rotation to the bottom half and getting a little bit of pressure from Ballistix. It's something that happens on Sky Temple quite frequently. Right now, I control over TheOne. But not full commitment here, so we see ourselves a bit of a stalemate, slower tempo here to Sky Temple.
Yeah, they said they were considering it, but with the Sonic Arrow spotting the very quick rotation from a lot of members of TheOne after that vision capture, they decided to just wait it out in the mid lane. Very interesting there. Meng moving into the bush, seeing if he could catch Thrall out of position, but Thrall had yet to rotate.
So I'm going to go ahead and ask, with TheOne throughout a majority of the time, with the laning decisions, even though the 2-1-2 is, it literally was created within the Chinese region, do we see that more often than not when we pair the Ariel and the Vala together? Because back in the day, the tri-lane factor is why that strategy is so dominant. But consistently, we see, the Chinese team splitting the 2-1-2 even with the Vala Ariel.
Back when Vala Ariel was viable, yes, they definitely did used to do the 2-1-2. And in one case, a 3-1-1 is what we did used to see a fair amount, as you did mention. But in the more recent years, it's very rare we'll see a 2-1. If it does happen, it would usually be on Braxis, where we'd see a 2-3 split. Okay. And just have someone up top to really protect the top lane and try and win that way.
This is very interesting decision-making to see that out from TheOne. And if they're able to, because traditionally what you want to do is draw and demand respect out of your opponent's composition. Ariel plus Vala plus any other kind of soft support or even just a warrior, generally speaking, has some of the best early game siege potential onto those front walls. And I'm surprised to see, because again, you always have the Vala to give you hope, which means you have infinite sustain, which means eventually that thing is going to be going down in your favor. And Vala has very, very effective siege. But instead, not catering to that, even though they are successful in this laning mismatch in the solo Dahaka, and then looking for that pressure on the top half of the map. I wonder if they're truly going to gain as much as they could have, again, with a more traditional setup.
Yeah, there is so much pressure on the top of the map. Andre trying to find Jongha here, but Jongha was not where he thought he was, so has to pull back. The staggered mercenary capture for Ballistix is good. They have now reacted, grabbing the mercenary, clearing out the one of TheOne, even though it was able to get a tower, very nearly 2 towers there, and the front gate. But now they can push in 3 members here coming in with this spell armor, mercenary camp.
But notice how, again, based on that 2-1-2 split up here with Ballistix, now when they have their night camp sieging, it's with 3 members on the back end. And the siege on the opposite side of the map is not going to be nearly as, kind of dominant on the side of TheOne. So from beginning to end, I feel like it's not a major advantage, but Ballistix has responded very, very effectively and is going to be having a upper hand when looking at this first tempo, which is, when looking at Ballistix, I never want them to have an upper hand looking at the first tempo.
Yeah, and getting that kill as well. Malfurion, just a root. Hugo a little bit too close to the wall here. So down goes a tower, and now due to the mercenary camp still being alive, the minions here as well, this fountain will certainly drop. The fort will take damage, and with Thrall grabbing the temple here, top fort is absolutely going down. No questions asked, but in the meantime, mid is being controlled as well, Dread.
It is being controlled by Ballistix again, and so it is just raining shots onto the base of TheOne. And I know I've said it, you know, it's been my talking point for the past 2 times that I've opened my mouth, but I'm going to bring it up again. In that type of situation, you need to be, if you're going to be sieging with your 2-man on the bottom half, set it to a third and really commit to it. If you're going to be losing on one half of the map with this type of split up, you need to be dominating on another one. And right now, they're struggling in 2v2s and the 2 isolations that they've had very, very consistently. Skirmish up through mid, though. It's very important that the one finds something for themselves here.
Men gets caught out. You can see better barbs here coming in for a new Barak. And down goes Malthael again. Hugo, usually so proficient, but really finding trouble due to the rotations of Ballistix.
And as it stands right here, if the one does not have oh my gosh, the 3-man, 4-man impale into 4-man root. The burrow charge after Andre's going down. He seems to make it out, but ZJZ now going to drop. And I mean, I'm not typically the guy to be a negative Nancy, but I'm going to say that Ballistix is looking at honestly, a 12-minute game here, and that might be pushing it.
If they snowball out of this, they're going to hit level 10. Boss will become available quite soon. Bot Temple will become available become available quite soon. There's only 1 fort left, so all shots from any temple will, in the future, will be moving on to bot lane until that fort is gone. So even if they have to abandon bot lane, that bot fort will go down eventually and potentially very quickly.
I mean, they're looking to do boss before it's even spawned.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be stacked with a giant opportunity. Oh, man.
That's what's slowing them down. Ballistix are being slowed down by the game spawn times.
Yeah, but I want to highlight this. This is actually a brilliant decision on their end. Normally, you see that 10 spike and you go immediate boss. See, I would like to see a little bit more siege on the bottom half of the map here because they have such a huge window until the 10 contesting whatsoever on the side of the 1 that I would like to see fort siege capability done beforehand like we see with Punishers typically, then just look to the keep because the 1 will still not have 10 by that point in time.
There is an easy boss by Ballistix. Like you said, not even level 9 yet for the 1. So now it is going to be a boss, 2 siege giants, and a level 10 Ballistix moving in for the fort and almost certainly for the keep.
At this point, it's just how much damage gets done. It's just bring out the popcorn, ladies and gentlemen. Until the 1 hits 10, there's not much else to say than how much does Ballistix dominate this map. Double giants boss. I mean, honestly, I think they're looking for lethal here. They might not even go back for those shots and just look to end the game.
They can certainly try. You can see the immediate commitment to the Bruiser camp for a little boosted XP from the 1 here to try and move themselves closer to 10, but the boss is already here. You're running out of time. Vala has to roll out. She gets chunked down here.
So it's very important to note that the game is so early, it's very hard to end or make anything of the like happen with this level of siege, even with this much siege potential, because that boss is a squishy little fella. So if we were to see that decision-making on Ballistix, they would need to be very, very focused on making sure to get kills on top of that. And even then, death timers are so short that it's still a high risk. So Ballistix here is taking the very, very safe route, and to be honest, with how big of a lead they have, the underdog bonuses that the 1 would get, I can't judge them on this. They're still going to get a keep. You know, the only reason I'm disappointed is because I said 12 minutes, and it might make it to 12 minutes now.
The 1 are rotating around. Looks like they want to try and close in and try and get themselves some of that lovely comeback experience here. Moving in, it's going to be Crystal Aegis, the Tormented Souls coming in once again.
But Malthael isn't there, and the Dahaka Brush Talk is going to isolate them completely into a 5 versus 4.
Oh, nice one, though. Here comes the Earthquake from Thrall. Andre is going to get stopped here. Taken out with the greatest of ease and the lovely Dragon Arrow. Hugo is basically going to try and 1-man carry this with the Tormented Souls, but you can't do that 3 levels down.
Shout out to SC for a very, very good use of the natural agility, understanding with the backliner so squishy and everybody focusing on to the front line. He wasted no time. Immediately cyber agility up. He took what most people would consider extremely risky positioning, but because he had won the trade so hard, just gets the double cleanup and make sure that there is nobody to escape the wrath of Ballistix here on Sky Temple.
Keep 1 down, keep 2 preliminary structures under siege. You can see here the huge damage. Easy kill with the deflect onto Vala, and by that point, it's just moving forward. Muradin just gets ignored, and like you said, SCSC with the quick skip to get in range and make sure no one escapes. This is insane.
They're going to go ahead and look to pick up the camp. Delay tactic here. And might be asking, why would you want to do this, ladies and gentlemen? My first thought is going to be because the intent is double stack giants and lethal on the bottom half while knights are threatening the top keep. You don't end up getting the keep, but then you end up sieging weak enough that if you don't get any kills, you make the rotation up later. The only other thought process here behind that would likely just be to have split pressure elsewhere so they can all in commit. All right, that's the case.
Well, Muradin gets Aegis for now. Genji does not get stunned. Hooligan a little short, but he still goes down. ZJZ pulling back. Saved by the Rain of Vengeance from Ariel, but he's still getting chased. That small little clip into the bush for Jongha, giving him that extra speed. And as such, ZJZ is down.
Malthael will be able to get the clear on the bottom half of the map here, stopping a little bit of the bleeding, but 13 Talents here is going to be out at reach, at least for 50% of the shots over the next Shrine phase, I believe, for the one, as we're just rounding the kind of timers. So with that in mind, Ballistix, if they consume even an entire one, because we're looking at only the third Shrine phase, it's actually not enough to secure mid-keep, even with the damage they have done before I said that. Now they're getting enough damage done. If they take out the entirety of that for wall, it will be able to secure the keep. And because of that Night Camp on top, that will also, I believe, have enough damage done to secure a keep there. So it's any Shrine is worth it for Ballistix.
Max commitment, potentially last chance for the one as Muradin gets Aegis once again. Can Ariel get the heal? She's holding her heal, trying to catch up to Genji, who's just charged forward here. And they did get Thrall here, but the turnaround from Jongha, nice detainment strike. So potentially, with that kill, comeback XP is good. They will hit 13.
They will end up hitting the 13. The Shrines are going to be up here. But as I was talking about, the pressure on the top half of the map mixed with that damage done, either Shrine is very, very effective. And now triple catapults Giants. That is absolutely core damage. Somebody on the side of the one has to be able to respond back. That's going to be Vala, leading towards double shot consumption by Ballistix. This is 16 talent here before, I mean, they might even beat him to 13.
The one, man advantage. Finally, there's level 13, but with the one having to spend so much time in their base due to the amount of pressure Ballistix have, that kill only netted them comeback XP. That's basically all they were able to achieve there. That's finally, Hihi though will finally get control of top. The rest of his team near the area. Malthael does have on a pale horse, so he can rotate very quickly, but he is still having to spend a lot of time in his bot lane trying to deal with the push.
It's one of those interesting situations where this game is so lopsided that it's more of a denial of shots from the opponent than it is gaining you anything, because, I mean, only hitting a fort with every one of those shots realistically is not providing too much to your team. Auto-attacking the fort might debatably do just as much. And so with this kind of in mind, the Night Camp on the top half of the map, 13 into 16. I don't know if they can wait any longer. Honestly, using the Knight Armor might be the best fight they can have.
The Burrow was good. The Knight Armor, like you said, is there. Malthael is on the way, and they found a Nubarak. Looks like they might want to try and make a play onto a Nubarak, but he Burrow charges away from danger down by this watchtower.
There's only two catapults now building on the bottom half, so not too concerning for the one. Boss is up, though, which nobody really needs to highlight the boss control of Hanzo and what we can see out of Ballistix here. It's going to be very difficult for the one to contest.
There's no denial. There's no Haymaker. There's no Holy Ground or anything like that that could be used here from the one. It's all kill potential. Detainment Strike is basically their only boss control tool.
Yeah, I would say it's not necessarily direct boss control, but there are two heroes synergistic and just two heroes that are really difficult to deal with, and it's mainly the Genji Tormented Souls. Tormented Souls, but you use the inevitable in so the Cocoon can't get the reveal, and then you get a lot of value on that, and then Genji goes in and gets resets, much like defending your core. It makes it look pretty silly if you get them. But I feel like that's pretty idealistic here, as ZJZ already popping that Aegis.
Very early Aegis, and the stun lock never even got the heal. So much so that Genji just ran away here. Hihi's down. Andre right now is just prioritizing surviving, and he's not even gonna. Hugo is dropping in, trying to get something out of this as Meng. He'll escape because Genji, but there's now 5 heroes going for the core, so this might just be lethal as Meg barely escaped.
Yes,
and yeah, that's the game. Ballistix moving for the core.
Yeah, they're going to go ahead and move in here as we round that 12 to 13 minute mark. A very dominant performance from Ballistix, beginning to end. The one, they did their best to be able to fight back. They ended up getting that one kill with the underdog bonus, but sadly it kept them on the side of the underdog.
Dragonblade, last-ditch effort, always go down fighting, says Meng. But that is GG as Ballistix, in convincing fashion, take game number 2.
And at this point, I don't feel like there's much left to say. The analysis test broke down a lot of the decisions when it came to the drafting on the side of the one and, you know, the individual skill level that we have expected out of these two teams. But I do want to highlight that, you know, as I said, that it does feel like the one is gaining momentum and finding themselves a bit at this tournament. Even though that was, you know, not maybe the best look on their end, I still personally have a lot of hope for them because I do think that they are showing that they're learning a lot here, and if they get a little bit of time, the development they might make, because we have to remember that is Ballistix on Sky Temple. That is legitimately a world champion on what is, for the longest time, the map that everybody said we can't touch them.
Can't argue with that. That is insane play by Ballistix. Insane advantages by them to just grab so early as well. And the early game, let's talk about just quickly the map rotations. The fact that TheOne were able to actually control the top lane a little bit, but like you said, they didn't gain as much of an advantage in bot.
Yeah, and I can't but feel like I'm going to bring it back to the 2-1-2. I'm not necessarily confident that the 2-1-2 with a Vala Ariel is the go-to in the manner that we see teams doing it, especially on a map like Sky Temple where it's not high demand in one lane or the other.
All right, well, let's hear what the panel have to say on it. They can expand that much better for you guys.
Sky Temple, there, pretty good stuff coming out from Ballistix, and I feel like aside from the 10-minute fight that we had go down, everything else was just, well, it's the perfect map for it really, isn't it? So step 1, step 2, step 3, very clinical, very scripted, coming from a very well-performing Ballistix in that game.
It's almost like a recipe, you know? You take control of the map, you get the first shrine phase, you get 10, you control the second shrine phase, you can either make a boss play or you could force a team fight. They were able to use the Hanzo pick to get the Siege Giant camp first. Then they were able to rotate top and get some picks. They took both shrines. They got about 1.8 of the 2 shrines. You know, they got like about 80%. The second one got that team fight win in the top. And the game just ran away from TheOne from there. And TheOne is a team that's aggressive. They're not as known for their macro. They're playing against a Dahaka pick here. So how do you really fight your way back into a game where you're that far behind when you're this team who doesn't have that skill set? That's why we had the one-sided game there.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was 2 years ago, right, when I started to get Ballistix onto this macro as Sky Temple. They do things that are different than a lot of other teams. I think Tetcher and Dreadnought did a very good job of highlighting the fact that the staggered camp up at the top lane was very strong. They were willing to concede a little bit in the bottom, and they knew they could dominate. And it was at that moment, like, you don't see that traditionally, and it's like, was that the wrong response from TheOne, or was that forced out and kind of baited out by Ballistix, right? Were they just kind of playing like the mental game in that aspect because they were able to stagger that camp, give up a little bit, and TheOne's probably like, man, we got almost the full wall. And then all of a sudden, Ballistix like, we're just going to hang out here. We're going to push with this. And they didn't just push with it. They literally ran down that top lane, took the entire fort. Next thing you know, it's 10-8.
Well, that's the thing with a Vala Ariel is you have that kind of pressure that you want to be putting on structures. So the thought there is that you're able to do that. But when you have the 2-1-2, which is what our commentators highlighted, they were able to push underneath that spell armor, getting a fort, like you hazard to call a game so early, but to get a fort off of the first few shots from the top temple, then be able to get most of that temple phase, then to get a keep off of the bottom temple, it's not going to look good from you. Like, you have to fight back from there.
Of course, we can head over to Heku as well, who is ready for an interview. Heku, like some Sky Temple?
I do like Sky Temple, but I really like the first map. I hoped we would get a Kalar score, but we're not yet there. Maggie, do you think that TheOne made a mistake by trying to finish the quarter?
혹시 그 1경기에서 상대팀이 그 핵을 노렸잖아요, 마지막에. 그게 실수였나요, 상대팀에?
상대팀이 노린 거는 괜찮았는데 좀 더 잘했으면은 아마 저희 핵이 깨질 수도 있었다고 생각해요.
He actually doesn't think it was a mistake. It might have been a good call. If they had executed better, maybe they could have broke it.
Okay, and in the first game, again, you went for, not you, but SD went for Tychus, and we can see that he's playing this hero very often. It's a pretty unusual pick. Why does he really like this hero?
첫 경기에서 SD 선수가 타이커스를 썼는데 그 좀 이렇게 일반적인 픽이 아니잖아요. 근데 자주 쓰는 이유가 뭔가요?
SD 형이 또 자신 있어하는 영웅이고 딱히 쓸 게 그 자리에 들어갈 영웅이 애매할 경우 저희는 타이커스를 쓰고 있어요.
Well, SD is just like very confident with Tychus, and when it's like kind of awkward filling that spot, they just go with Tychus.
Okay, I guess it's a safe pick. So tomorrow we're playing versus Fnatic. So far they dropped only one map, but it was versus TheOne, and you won against them with a 2-0. Do you think it will be an easy match for you?
내일 그 프나틱이랑 붙는데 프나틱이 지금까지 그 한 경기를 그 진 팀이 그 TheOne이었어요. 근데 오늘 TheOne을 2대0 이겼잖아요. 그래서 그 프나틱이랑 경기는 어떨까요?
저희가 준비를 잘 하면은 충분히 이길 수 있다고 생각하고 있어요.
Yeah, as long as they prepare well, you know, they definitely could win.
Okay, good. Good luck in your upcoming series. So, Kalars, are we getting those scores?